Come on. Hey!
We're live.
I think
Hey!
I think it is working. That's amazing. Do you know what, Stephen? That was such a relief just there when that came up and said live. I was expecting to get this skull and crossbones appear
That's
and
it.
it go, you're not
Yeah.
allowed.
Backed by popular demand. We're
I know,
here.
I know. So we tried this last week. If you've just tuned in and joined us, we tried this last week and it didn't work. It wasn't happening. Facebook wasn't having any of it. Poor Steve was there. He'd put his put his dinner in to cook whilst he was having a chat, and
Yeah, I was sitting on my own, on my
it,
top. No one
it
else.
was it was all for nothing. It was all for nothing. But anyway, thank you for coming back a few days later. I'm having a lek tonight, which I'm pleased about. There it is.
I haven't got a beer tonight. I've just got a lemonade. That's
Oh,
lightweight.
yeah,
Oh,
it is a
wow.
Wednesday. It is a Wednesday.
I don't know whether it was just the fact I never thought this was going to happen.
I'm not going to invest the time
I'm
in
not gonna
even getting a beer from the fridge.
Yeah.
This is so unlikely to even happen.
It's a
Oh,
lemonade. Yeah.
well, there you go. There you go. Oh, I've got us our title. There it is. Books and beer. Off-topic author chats. There we are. So, your books, I finished just reading one of your books, Vodka and Jelly Deals, which is a great title. It's a great book as well. How do you describe your writing? How do you describe your novels?
Oh, it's now. I've always been a big fan of action films, stuff like Die Hard, and
Oh yeah.
loved all that kind of stuff. And books-wise, I like the early Reacher stuff, and I like Mitch Rapp, which is a Vince Flynn character.
Hmm.
But with Reacher, I always thought I wish he was a bit harder, a bit more edgy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Rapp. So they are. I set out to write a book that was really hardcore, action, violent on it, but with quite a lot of humour. I'm a real big fan of stuff like Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and
Yeah.
Snatch.
Yeah.
Love those. Love Guy Ritchie humour and stuff like that. So there's quite a bit of edgy London humour in there, and when people get killed, and there's all sorts of bits and pieces in there. That's I like to really kill people off in pretty brutal ways.
I really like that about your books. But there's also a real sense of justice. It's not
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
dark to an extent, but the good guy always kicks ass. Like there's none of this.
That's it. The
You
bad
know.
guys are really bad, and the good
Yeah.
the good guys are pretty good. Yeah, yeah. That's.
So how
pretty
many have you
fair.
got now? You've got a fair, considering your first one was released 2 years ago. You've been pretty quick
2 years
at
last.
rolling them out, haven't you?
Where are we? 2 years. 2 years November. Last November. It's just gone 2 years, and I've just put the latest one, Sport of Kings, is up for pre-order for the Easter Bank Holiday weekend, which is
Wow.
the 2nd of April. Just doing me checks and stuff like that, and that will be the 8th book.
Oh wow.
So I've been quite busy, but 3 of them are novellas. So there's 5 main titles, 3 novellas.
That's good going, isn't it? 8 books in 2 years. That's a
It is, yeah.
work.
It's funny because when you're doing it, it doesn't seem right. I think, oh, actually, that is quite a lot of books.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
I've
so-
not done quite that many, but maybe I'm not that far off, I suppose, with
It
5
took
in
me,
almost.
took
2
me
years.
50 years to write one, and then I went mental.
What started you onto it then? So you say it was around your turning 50. Was that your
I was
idea?
49, and 50 was coming up. And you know when you just think, I've always wanted to do that. So I turned around to everyone's disbelief and said, I'm going to write a book.
Were they like, whatever?
Whatever. He's on another mad one. Ignore him.
Yeah.
But I just sat down and wrote it and didn't stop until it was finished. That one did take, the first one, the first one takes ages. It took me over a year and a half to write that. It's bloody hard. When you haven't written anything your entire life, to then try and actually write something is, for anyone who's done it, really hard.
Yeah. I can only imagine. If you're just joining us, hello, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. This is Books and Beer. I'm Luke, and that There he is.
Yeah, Stephen Taylor.
It's Stephen Taylor. Do say hello in the comments and shout out and that sort of thing. It's really nice when we get a sort of group chat going on in these sorts of things. Apologies, as I say, we weren't able to make it last week. We're here now, which is most important. So your main character, Stephen, Danny Pearson, who's brilliant. I think he's a great main character because he's sort of a little bit suave, but his heart's in the right place. But also there's this sort of real niceness about him, even though he just kicks anyone who gets in his way.
He's a mixture of all sorts of stuff like that. He's very very fair, very moral compass. Will help anyone. And just is very good at killing people as well, which is always good.
There was one scene in Vodka and Jellied Eels, which I read a little while ago, where you had a fight in a kitchen, and it was horrendous. Like I was going, oh! There's a bit with a blender. There's a tub of hot stew bubbling on the stove.
Kitchens are great, aren't they? They've just got every element you can. Really, it's just got sharp objects and hot things, and he melts the guy's face off with the flame on the stove as well, which is quite gruesome. So, quite enjoy writing that one.
Yeah, and you set them all around London, do you? I mean, I've read that one. In fact, Heavy Traffic I've read as well, which was based in Spain somewhere. Spain.
That's one of the little ones. That's in Allissa, Spain. That goes on to Barcelona. That's all in Spain. You've read Vodka. The other ones tend to go a bit globe-trotting.
Right.
Execution of Faith starts in London, goes to New York, goes to Argentina.
Wow.
Goes back, and then we've got Beware the Chinaman. Starts. He's got bits in China, and then he comes. Oh, it's all over the globe. That one. Yeah, that one goes all over the place as well. Bits in America, the Bahamas. So and the latest one, Sport the Kings, is all in this country. So it's just whatever takes me fancy, really.
I did enjoy that with Vodka and Jellied Eels, though, that London was so prevalent in it. And it really does have that Guy Ritchie feel, disused warehouses somewhere in the East End and
under
strip
the arches,
clubs wherever the arch. Yeah, it really does tick those boxes, which I love. Do you have people? I can see that book sort of having a following in other countries other than the UK as well, because it is so sort of iconic of London and the places. Have you seen that? Have you heard that from your readers? Or
I'm actually doing quite a lot in Australia at the moment. I started doing a little bit of advertising in Australia, and they seem to be picking up really quickly. I don't know whether it's the expat community or whether it's just being picked up. I don't know. Most of my sales are in the UK, to be honest. I don't get a lot up. Yet to seem to find much hold in America. I don't know whether they don't quite get the British humour.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the titles throw them off or the facts in London. I don't really know.
I'm sure it will come in time. It's one of those things. Let's have a quick jump into the comments and see who is joining us. Alison, good to see you, Alison. You've been on a social media detox, haven't you? I remember you saying. Which we all need from time to time, don't we? Because you realise how long you spend on Facebook and doing these sorts of things. Ken Preston says, Stevie boy!
Hey, Ken.
Luke! Alison says she loves the title Vodka and Jellied Eels. I do as well. I think that's... I've got to say, Steve, that your books are great, but your titles are brilliant. They're so sort of catchy and well thought out. They match the style of books really, really well.
They all kind of go along they've all got that kind of feel to them right across the series. I don't know what I'm going to call the next one. I might have to do answers on a postcard or something.
Yeah. And Fiona's in with us as well. Sorry, I'm late. You're not late. No worries at all. No worries at all. Oh, Alison with the great memory. Stephen, who's cooking the sausages tonight?
No, it's chilly tonight. All right. I've given up on sausages. I got ribbed too much for the sausages.
Chilies are great. Cool. What would Danny Pearson have for his dinner?
Oh, probably sausages and mash. Fish and chips. I don't know. One or the other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
I actually had a comment from a guy in America who said, "What do jelly deals taste like?" Well, how good are jelly deals? I think something like that. I thought, I don't know. I've never eaten them. Does anyone know anyone who's ever eaten jelly deals?
I feel you should. I feel you should try them now.
I should really. If we weren't in lockdown, I'd drive down to London and get some.
Yeah, down to the East End and try and find some.
Yeah. Does anyone eat jelly deals?
So the next one, Sport of Kings. How do you keep them different? Because this is something I've found with my books, and I'm working really hard to do, and it's quite difficult not to just have like generic bad guy, isn't it? You know, like the Bond films, the trap they fall into. You know, generic cut out bad guy does this, and you can use that stereotype once, but then next time you've got to think of someone else, haven't you? You couldn't just have a bad guy with a Russian accent every time, you know.
You've got to try and be distinct. I mean, the first one is obviously he's a Russian, great Russian. I mean, you can't beat a bad Russian, can you? The second one's more, it's kind of like religious extremist, but not. It's a bit of a twist to it. It's a kind of a story of revenge and greed under the guise of being extremist terrorism. So you'd have to read it to find out, but it's a bit of a twist. You think
which one's that then?
That's Execution of Faith,
right?
Which is actually the first book I wrote. But there's an excerpt in that tells the story of vodka and jelly deals. It's just a little bit where he goes to see his uncle, and I love that bit so much that I had to write a prequel, which then kind of threw everything out. So after that, I then made that book number one. So it goes timeline. Although you can read the books in any order, doesn't matter. They're all individual stories, just with sort of linked characters. Not the same, but they do link different characters across the books. But it made more sense to make that number one, and people like it. So they read that first, and it's now the first book, and then leads on. So that's that one.
So I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about writing a book that goes between my Kathmandu and my Hong Kong, because when I wrote them, I left a gap in the timeline of about a year, just thinking that was what happened, and then that's the best way to do it. And then after Hong Kong, I wrote 3 books that virtually like come straight after the other, you know.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, why haven't I explored what happens in that gap? Because there's a few things that are sort of told in hindsight when you read Hong Kong, you know, this happened and this happened. Yeah. But actually, that in itself would make a really good book. Did you find that sort of upset people who were reading your books, that you released them out of order, or did you have to explain that in some way?
Not especially. There was just like a couple of comments, but as I say, they are self-contained stories. So and I do explain that on the blurb in the book, so it doesn't matter what order you read it. But it just felt right to move it.
Yeah.
The rest of them have no discernible timeline. They do follow after each other, but I don't actually mention the timeline or the years have gone by.
Or the age of the character is the key one, isn't it? You know, he was 26 here and some other age here. You know.
Well, look at Jack Reacher. He's about 105 now.
Yeah, that's it. The
amount of books that have come out with that. So you have to leave it a bit vague. It just felt better that one did. I think because you've got 4 main titles now, haven't you? Yeah, so I think 4 main titles and then doing it'd be fine. It was just because it's my second book, it felt a bit gone and then gone back. Yeah. I think if I'd done it now and done a prequel, I'd leave it where it was.
Right.
But I think it was just because it was the second book. It was before the first. It made more sense, and people seem to like it that way. Yeah. Plus, it's I think the title sells well. That book does sell very well. I think it's just the look of it and the description of it and the title.
No, they look great. They look great. I know you've put a lot of work into having the covers redesigned and all those sorts of things, and they're fantastic books, and they look good on the shelf, and they read nicely. So that's the most important thing. Let's have a quick jump in these comments and see what people are saying. Ken Preston, always with the great ideas, says you should call the next book Sausages.
Yeah.
Maybe the villain could be Punch and Judy, or the crocodile.
Yeah.
Well, that's the sort of I mean, I like that could work. Allison says I have and recommend them. I assume she's talking about
Thank
your
you,
books
Alison.
and
I
not
hope so. All the
sausages.
sausages.
I mean, I recommend sausages. Yeah. and and haven't you got a book coming out in the spring? Allison says as well.
Sport of Kings. That's out on the 2nd of April on the Bank Holiday Friday. For,
Tell us
Easter.
a little bit about Sport of Kings, and whilst you're doing that, I'm going to find the link and I'm going to put it on the screen.
Yeah, that'd be good. I put that up this week, but you know how Amazon is. It takes a few days for it to populate so it actually shows in the right place. And it's on the .com and it's on UK on my author page, but it's still not showing yet in the series bit below. So as soon as that does, I was going to advertise it better and tell everyone it's out. So I'm just waiting for good old Amazon to send their...
What does Danny Pearson get up to though in this book? What's the the premise of this one? Without revealing too much, obviously.
Is a slight change again. It's a little bit of a reunion buddy type movie in the sense that his old mate Smudge from the SAS goes missing. Owns him up in trouble and goes missing. So he gets with his other SAS buddies and they go up to Norfolk, which is where I'm from.
Oh, nice.
A little place called Sea Pauling to look for him. And they follow the trailer where he's gone and find that he's got involved in drug smuggling and a particular hunt called the Sport of Kings, where these elite British, a lord and a sir, Lord Bartholomew Smythe and Sir John have an illegal hunt where they hunt people that they've took off the streets and kept held captive. And it gets into a massive hunt for that and a fight with the bad guys who are drug smuggling into the country off the coast of Norfolk, which apparently happens. I've never seen it, but that's it. And when you think it's over, it's not. It all kicks off in a different sense. So more twists to come on that. But that's it. It goes into Norfolk and then bigger states, and then it ends up back in London for some more shenanigans in London.
Shenanigans. That sounds great. I love the idea of doing setting it in places as well. That's a really important thing to me with my books is to have visited the places and sort of have an affinity to that sort of place. Right. By the power of amazing technology, although it probably made my computer go a bit jerky, I've actually got you the link, which I will now post in the chat, and I will put on the screen. It's Genius / Sport of Kings to pre-order and read the blurb for the book that Stephen has just been talking about. There we go.
Look at that. There he goes. Fantastic.
Look at that. Like a professional.
Yeah. You almost look like you know what you're doing there.
When it works.
We're actually here. Yeah.
Is the wonder of this. And I know you're also having your audiobooks done at the moment, aren't you?
The first one's been submitted. I'm waiting for ACX to pull their finger out, which I've been told is very slow.
Yes, it does take a while.
It could take up to a month. That was put in a week or so ago. And the first of the recordings of Execution of Faith came over today, so he's moving through them. So that should be another month, and then...
Right, so you're just going to put them out as soon as they're ready. You're not waiting for any reason,
No, as soon as they're ready, they're going. I've been asked about them quite a lot. A lot of people waiting for them, so I'm quite keen to get them up, and they do sound great. So.
They do. I heard the clip that you sent me, which was the start of Jelly Deals, I think.
That's it. That's on my website as well, StephenTaylorBooks.com. There's a little excerpt of Chapter 1 of Vodka and Jelly Deals.
Let me put a link in for that for you. So did you do that because readers have asked for them, or did you just think it's another avenue to go into,
I've been asked for them several times, but I also think the size of the books and the way that it's going, I really need that sales stream is just missing. You look at everyone else who's got good, they've got all the audio books. So I just think it's a good time now to catch up. If I leave it too far, and then imagine I'm 10 books down the line and then deciding audio.
That's true, isn't it?
Remortgage the house.
It's the cost and the time of doing that. Are you going to do them as a box set as well?
Do you know what? I hadn't even thought of that.
Because I'm an audiobook listener. I'm an audiobook listener, and for me and my missus love the detective novels because you can get them as a box set quite often, and you get 3 books in a box set for your audio credit. And actually, if there's 3 for 1, I'll definitely go for the 3. You know, on that. Why wouldn't you? You know.
Yeah, I'll look into that. I hadn't even thought of that, Luke. That's a great idea.
You go.
I will have a little look into that.
Yeah, right. Let's jump over to these comments and see what people are saying. Fiona says that sounds very exciting. Yes, it does. And Fiona and I are talking at the moment about a book of mine and Steve Moore's, which is based on a character from Belfast, which Fiona spent some of her formative years. And that would be a great place for your character, Danny Pearson, to go over to as well, wouldn't it? To get involved in the sort of
go at that one.
Things that happen over there, or the history involved in the place. Really interesting place. Alison says, "What are you both drinking?" I'm on the beer. Hence the name of the show.
Boring lemonade. I wasn't ready. I didn't know it happened. So
I'm not a very exciting beer tonight, I'm afraid, Alison. It's a Lech. I normally go for the Zuba in the shop, the corner shop near my house, which is like the tastiest Polish. I don't even know if it is Polish. Certainly Eastern European beer you can get, and there wasn't any there this time, so I had to go for this one. But there we go. That's it. So, do you come up with your ideas as you're writing, or do you have like an idea when you sit down? Do you plot it all out beforehand? What's the process behind the books?
I usually have an idea. As I'm getting into writing more books, I'm tending to plot a little bit more. It makes, as you know, you said as well, it makes the writing process faster if you actually plot. But there are some that I didn't. I mean, Beware the Chinaman.
There it is. They're great covers. Just show that. They're fantastic looking books, aren't they? Really, really cool. Yeah.
Now, Beware the Chinaman was written, the whole book was written because I liked the title. No other reason. I wrote the last one. I thought, Beware the Chinaman, that's a great name for a book. And I had to think of an entire book around the title. I had no other idea how that was going to go. So that's just a bit mad. But now I'm tending to plot a little bit more. I'm not too sure what the next one's going to be. I've got to get on with that because now I'll be editing this one. I'm going to try and get 3 books out a year now.
Wow. That's really good going.
So this will be one. And then if I can do a book every 4 months. Whether I achieve it, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'd like to do 3 books a year.
I wrote this as an intention for this year, and I planned it out over a 4-month process. No, a 3-month process, 12 weeks, as to how I'd write a book from start to finish over 12 weeks and publish it at the end of that time. And needless to say now, 5 weeks into the year, it's already gone to pot, But I mean, I started behind because I was working on some other things, and I've done one of my audiobooks this week. So Kotal will be out in the next little while. In fact, I may even share an excerpt of that when I talk next week on this next week.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. So it's other things. It's just the way, isn't it? Do you sort of follow your inspiration in that, or do you sit down and go, right, I'm writing 2,000 words. I'm not allowed to get up until I've done that.
I'm not that hardcore. Some days I just look at it and go, nah. I can't think straight. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Or things like yesterday, I was having a conversation with a friend of ours, Gilly and Dan, on Facebook, and I must have spent an hour and a half looking at chatting to them on that. I didn't write a single word. I quite enjoyed that chat because I'm in this group chat.
I'm in this group chat as well, and Steve was talking about how many words he'd written. He must have written 1,000 words in the group chat. If only they counted towards your novel, you'd be another.
I sit here with three screens. You know, I got three big screens. So I had the chat on that side, and then the book in the middle, and that on the other side. And all these words were going on the chat, and my book was in the middle with literally nothing written for hours.
You just need to turn those two off and just have your one in the middle with the book on for that couple of hours that you're writing.
Easily distracted, I think is the word.
Yeah. I like it. No, but it's a great intention to do that. I've got this Riga novel, which is planned now, and I wrote about 500 words of it last week, and that's it for now. So I'm coming back to it. I'll get there. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great book. It's going to be a really, really good book. But I'm just take my time. Do my you know.
I think you can't rush it either. You can set the ideas in motion that I want to write, and generally I've said I want to do. I think we're doing 685 words a day.
That's probably achievable, isn't it?
I've done it every week since Christmas, so that's fine. I've been over it actually every week. So if I keep it at that, if I miss a day, I can catch up. If I start setting yourself so rigid, I'd be behind all the time. So yeah, I think that's okay. So, but I think Dan worked that out. That's something like 250,000 words a year or something.
That's a lot, isn't it? That's a lot. Would you ever consider, now talking to you just now, another thing that's occurred to me is your books are quite sort of Die Hard-esque, which I love. Die Hard is fantastic as a film franchise. And Die Hard is one of my favourite Christmas films because they're always set at Christmas time, right?
It's the best.
The best Christmas film ever. Would you ever consider going down that route? You know, Danny Pearson saves something Christmas related, or would you think, I know a number of authors that have done this, and I'm on the fence as to whether it's a great idea because you can perpetually sell it every Christmas time, or whether it's a really rubbish idea because you're never going to sell it from January through to November. You know,
it's a tough one, that, isn't it? Do you go for I don't know. I think I'd probably steer clear of seasonal. Well, I suppose you can do Christmas. Huh? Would people buy it all year round? They'd buy it anyway, wouldn't they?
As long as it's not clearly in there, you could set it at, like my New York is set around the holidays. It's called the holidays rather. The C word never exists in it, but it's around sort of the it's snowing and it's it's snowing and it's winter time and all those sorts of things. So but that did add the pressure. That did add the pressure for me to release it before Christmas, because had I have released it in January or February, because it was set in the winter time, I'd have felt it wouldn't have mattered in the grand scheme of things. But in my mind, it wouldn't have been quite right, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't do a Christmas Day edition.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Probably wouldn't. Never say never, but
never say never.
Probably wouldn't.
Yeah. Let's have a quick look at the comments. Allison, Stephen, do you scribble in your books after they have been released to change certain aspects? Alison's talking about this because I've got up here.
No, I've seen what you do, Luke.
Yeah, here we go.
I've seen your notes.
All of the little corrections, and I've sent one of them to Allison, and I will give a couple of them away on the show at some stage.
Yeah. No, I don't do that. I have, like, a lot of people write different ways. A lot of people write very fast and then check a lot later. I tend to write slower and I write the entire book, then I do one check through and it goes off, and then it pretty much never gets touched and goes straight out. Great way
to be, really. I'm a revision fiend. I hate it, but I do go back through and through, you know.
No, I do pretty much one read through. So it's written, but I check it as I write it. So it's not like, sod it, just put it out.
Yeah.
I do actually check it. So I check it as I write it quite thoroughly, and then I do a real thorough check. Then it goes off to be checked, comes back, and then I just literally launch it. It's just gone straight up. So that to me feels quite fast as well, because it just gets the book out there.
It's the best thing to do rather than hang on to it for ages. I think is to
You could do. You can go on forever, can't you?
no one has ever, eventually you release the book that you think is, I always release a book that I'm happy with and I think is brilliant,
Yeah,
of course.
I've got to be happy with
But
that.
I know when I release it, there are things that I would, if I had infinite time, would tweak and improve further. But no one ever comes back to me and says, "Oh, I wish you'd done that thing that I thought I should improve."
Yeah, I'm quite happy. I just I read through it. If it reads right to me and I like the story and it's flowing how I want it to flow, I've moved on. I'm on the next one. I'm happy then, and people seem to be buying it and leaving good comments. So as long as the reviews are all good, which touch wood.
Well, they
do
are.
seem to
You've
be,
got great views so far. Allison says, "Yes, do that, Luke. We'll look forward to it." I assume she means the giving away the book. I definitely will do some more of those. And Stephen Moore has jumped in. John Milton in The Sausage of Kings. The Sausage of Kings.
Sausage of Kings. I like that.
That's a great title. That
could be. I could nick that, Steve. Sausage of Kings. King of sausages.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a definite idea.
A definite possibility.
Good. Yeah, other meat-based products are available.
Yeah, no, not for Steve Moore. He's all against things like that. Bless him. Yeah.
He is, isn't he? Oh, we'll have to do the vegan
but
version.
they do great vegan sausages now. Actually, I think in a meat product like sausages, and I may get shouted down for this. A meat product like sausages, which contains so little meat anyway. You look at the packet and it's 60% meat. So it's not even half. It's over half, but not that much. But there you go.
Your sausages from, Lee.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. Another thing I've loved about your the vodka and jelly deals was all the fast cars. There were so many Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all these sorts of things, in there. Are you a car fan yourself? Are you?
I'm not really, but I do kind of like to write them in. I always find it quite funny. There's a little book that. Have you read Snipe?
No, I haven't read
there's
Snipe
a
yet.
little free book called Snipe, which you can read, and there's some bits in there where it's basically a psychopath who's got out of jail and he wants to escape in a car, so he tries to steal someone's car, and he gets really annoyed because it's a Fiat Panda and not an M4. So he kills the person just for having the wrong car, and he goes to find someone else.
But but that's great, isn't it? Because it's always entertaining in an action film where the hero is in like a really rubbish car and they're trying to escape all these jeeps with tinted windows and they're.
Yeah. So I do like the humour. I do like to stick quite a bit of humour in there. I always think in the worst circumstances that are available, when they turn around and throw something funny in there, it's just tease it off. So.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. I think that's important too. I've tried to do that I think the more I've written, the more I've been able to do that. I think to start with, it was quite difficult in my first couple of books to surf that line between what was funny and what was, and the funny stuff now seems a bit forced, but the more
I was just going to say the same thing. It's got to be funny in a natural conversation way, just something I would say or something that would be said. There's plenty of bits like that in there where they just turn to each other and give themselves a little look or a little phrase. There's one in it's Snatch is in where
Snatch is great.
The guy he turns around and says, "Who stole the jam out of your donut?" And I love that phrase.
What's the one with Tyrone, the getaway driver? Is that Snatch? Or is that
what can he get away from?
It came from behind me. It always does when you reverse Tyrone.
When they're in the garage, he's the getaway man. What can he get away from? This massive guy sitting there.
But it's one of those things that is completely irrelevant to the plot. It makes no difference to the overall storyline. But you just remember it. One of those points that you just remember.
So I love all that stuff. I do love all that stuff. It just makes me chuckle.
Yeah, it's a talent to find that, actually, and the speech, actually, from reading your book, the conversations are great, and that's something I found really difficult when I started writing, is getting conversations to sound believable and not just putting in like the stuff like just boring words. It's like it's the conversation's dynamic and it's got stuff going on in it all the time.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I always hope it is. It wouldn't work, but there's quite a lot of dialogue in there, so it wouldn't work too well if not. I enjoy Vodka's probably, out of all the books, is probably the one I enjoyed to write the most. I just really enjoyed that. They were just such nasty Russians. They're just great.
I did like them, and I did like that whatever happened at the end, I'm not going to say it. But yeah. Right, let's have a look at what Steve Moore has come back and said. Mr. Facts here. Most supermarket sausages in the UK contain less than 20% meat. This is my point, actually. I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan at all, but I don't mind vegan sausages because actually there's not that much sausage in.
I've never eaten
much meat
again.
in real sausages. Sorry, Stephen Taylor, there to ruin your thoughts about
I'm off sausages.
I'm gone. I'm going to put this link on the screen again one more time. That is the pre-order link to Steve's new book, Sport of Kings, which is set near where he lives, which is great.
Oh, yeah, up near the coast. Yeah.
And you're in a lovely part of the world there as well, actually.
It's quite nice. Yeah, it's in the Broads, and we've got there's a lovely coast going all the way out to North Norfolk. I've put a couple of bits in other books. Beware the Chinaman. There's the cathedral in Norwich. Beautiful building, walled-in cathedral.
It's lovely, yeah.
And how there's a massive gunfight and killing spree goes on in the cathedral in one of them, in Beware the Chinaman, which was quite good. I had someone from Norwich message me on Facebook saying, I'll never look at the cathedral in the same way again. Which was quite funny.
Do you go to a place and think this would make a great setting, or does that come whilst you're sat there with? Yeah, if you've been there,
the writing process? I mean, the cathedral was great. It's got the cloisters and the pillars, and it was just a perfect place for bad guys trying to track him down and gunfights and all that kind of thing. But you've done a few. One of the short books has a finale in the Sky Garden at the top of the walkie-talkie building. That was quite good, because I've been there and walked around there. It's a lovely bit of garden, the steps go up and you see all over London. This is a great setting for a...
in the Shard, is that?
No, in the walkie-talkie building, 22 Fenchurch Street, or 20...
Right.
The Fenchurch Street one, the walkie-talkie one. There's a Sky Garden at the top with restaurants, and that was a good lad. So that went in one of the books, and then they've got Cathedral in another one, and so it's like yourself, where places you've been, you just walk around and think, this would be a great location for
I do love that. I love putting. I've just got photos on my phone of when I was in Riga, because I knew I was going to write this book there, of stupid things that to a normal person would seem bonkers, but just where the road's really narrow and it comes around, there's a little archway. I took loads of photos of that, because that's gonna be part of some crazy chase scene I've got in my mind, where the baddies can't get through in their big monster jeeps because the good guys are in some tiny little silly car like we talked about, or whatever it happens to be. Those little details.
It's like London. I used to do contract work with all AV. I'm an audio-visual engineer. So I used to do all the pubs and clubs and all that, the chains years ago, and I was always working away from home. But I used to work in London loads. This is why a lot of them are based in London. And I was born in Walthamstow.
Oh, right. Oh, so you're in almost... Is that East End as well? That's North East, isn't it?
East 17. So,
yeah. Gosh. So you are you're actually Danny Pearson incarnate.
That's me. Can you tell? Yeah, I've had a hard life.
Yeah.
So and I love London. I really do like London in the city. So I do like to set this in London.
When did you move up to Norfolk then?
Oh, when I was little, I've been in Norfolk since
right.
I was 5. So that, as I say, I did spend a good stint in my mid-30s and up to 40, sort of working around London, doing loads of contract work in London. So I was always there anyway.
It's one of those cities, I think, that I feel like I know it really well. And I've never lived there, but have been frequently. And in reality, I know the centre of London very well. But I wouldn't know, I know where Walthamstow is, or Stratford is, or Shepherd's Bush is, or Brixton, or whatever. But I wouldn't know my way around those areas. I just sort of know. But that centre section, because it's such the centre of London's quite compact, isn't it?
It is. It's not that big, actually, especially if you're driving around it in a van like it used to be.
Yeah, I bet. Before the congestion charge days.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't recognise it now because they changed the road layout and everything. The buildings are hot. Every time I go down for the day and visit and have a little trip around there, the amount of building work that changes and the new skyscrapers that go up, London's just changes every time you go, which is just amazing what they shoot up, really. Yeah. I do love that, though. I love the mixture of the really new stuff they've got there and the really, really old. Like last time we went there, we went down to watch the London Marathon. So we were sitting having a snack, and I looked over, and it was on. Didn't even realise where we were sitting there, and it was right next to Pudding Lane, where the Great Fire of London started.
Oh yeah.
And you sit like, oh, Pudding Lane. I never even realised it, and then all these little churches in between these skyscrapers that are centuries old. It's a fascinating place. It just amazes you to see something different every time.
No, it really is. It really is. I would like to set a book there, but I often wonder whether I'm reluctant to do it because for me it seems too familiar. Do you know what I mean? Because I've been there so many times. All of my books, when I write for so long in a place, I want it to feel exotic and interesting and distant. So Kathmandu or Hong Kong or New York or whatever. I went there for 3 or 4 days to each of those places, but yet spent 6 months or a few months writing about it. And I wonder whether I could do London justice in that way. I don't know.
It never really strikes me as the exotic London.
No, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. But then I've got to be aware that actually it's within the top 20 tourist destinations in the world or something like this.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So actually it is an exotic place to a lot of people. So yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Let's have a look in the in the comments and see what people are talking about. Fiona says Irish sausages have a lot more meat. I'm not sure that's the point Steve was making, but I get you completely, Fiona. I understand.
It's never going to end. The sausage is going to go forever.
Alison, I think Stephen needs to have a Michael Caine. Yeah, you're like a Michael Caine. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
Yeah, yes. I love all that as well. Actually, I watched that the other day.
I think you need a heist. Excuse me. I think you need like a heist story, don't you?
There is a heist story in one of them.
Is there?
There is an undercover heist story in.
Here he is. He's got it next to him.
In that one. Look at that for a cover.
So that was the most recent.
The last one. Yeah.
The last one. That was out in November, December time, wasn't it?
Right? Yeah, I think it was September. I think that was out in September. And that's all around London mostly. In fact, yes, that is all around London. With a lot of undercover stuff, and he goes to a heist, and there's
nice
typical bad guys and good guys, and a really, really bad guy.
Have you ever thought of putting like true events in your books?
No, I think I'd steer clear from that one.
Would you? Why?
Yeah, I don't know. A bit too real, I think.
I'm thinking of like. I'm not thinking of like them exactly, but sort of borrowing ideas from them. Like the Great Train Robbery or the Hatton Garden heist or whatever. You think fiction is, or truth is stranger than fiction, perhaps? Less believable.
Yeah,
than
I think I'd steer clear from that. I mean, it's sort of. I do tend to have a bit of thought of what goes in there because the execution of fate was that it's got sort of tones of ISIS in there and a bit of extremism, but I didn't want to get too into it. I don't want to get bogged down in it. It's just a story. It's entertaining. It doesn't have to be too deep and too, meaningful. I don't want people sort of Facebooking me messages of this should happen and that should happen and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just an entertaining story that goes different places without actually getting too deep and invoking the wrath of this person or that person.
That's
Some people
it,
do it just for the sake, for confrontation, but I'd rather just have an entertaining story that's fun.
No, there's a balance to be struck there, I think, actually, isn't there? Like, you want it to be truthful, but also you are talking about people who are similar to people who actually exist and have livelihoods, and you don't want to
exactly.
You've got to be sensitive, I think, generally speaking, with writing.
I think you do a little. Yeah, you got to be a little bit of thought and care going into what you write.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve says, it's a beautiful area, no doubt. Norwich is the prettiest city in the UK. Norwich is lovely, actually.
It's a lovely city.
Yeah,
I'll agree with that.
I have some. Do you live in Norwich itself or on outside?
No, I live just outside Norwich, a little village called Brundlewich on the Broads, which is on. As you went round Norwich on the way to Yarmouth, sort of before April, there's a little village there. But Norwich is 3 or 4 mile away.
There's some great pubs in Norwich as well. Great pubs.
Well, there was.
Yeah,
whether or not they'll still be there when we get out.
We're allowed to go back again.
I'm not too sure. It's a bit fearful how many will still remain.
I really hope so. It's one of those cities, because my missus, she's not on the chat today, actually. Normally she is. Hello, if you're listening quietly, Martha. She works at one of the hospitals in Norwich, and before all this business, she used to go there a couple of times a year, 3 or 4 times a year, and her company would pay for the hotel and whatever. And so a few times I'd go with her, and because she was driving, I'd just go in the car and spend the days in cafes in Norwich or sitting in pubs and whatever, having a really nice time.
Actually, you did mention, I think, before lockdown, didn't you? I might come down to Norwich and
funnily enough, I don't know we've known each other prior to pandemic times, which is a crazy thing to think about, actually.
It might be just about the time before, or sometime around then, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think we first connected like March or April or something like that. I don't know. Exactly.
Might have been afterwards, actually, to be honest. Yeah. Like I say, I haven't really been doing this very long. It feels like I have, but I haven't really been writing or doing stuff very long at all, really, in the great scheme of things. A couple of years,
That's good. You've done amazing things in that time. Alison says, I lived in Crystal Palace for years, and my daughter was born in Lewisham. So that's sort of south west, isn't it, I think? Southeast. South
years and years ago, I did a fire alarm in Lewisham. I used to work for a fire alarm company. Did a fire alarm in Lewisham. So.
There we go. Yeah. So you know the city as well. Fiona says she remembers her first trip to London. It was so exciting. It is an exciting city, actually. It is. Really cool, exciting. And Penge and Catford are exotic.
I didn't do any jobs there.
I went to stay for a night when was it? It was last February. So a year ago now, in Tooting, and it was really cool. It was really cool. It was like this proper, real big Afro-Caribbean sort of community there. Great pubs, great sort of area. Yeah, really liked it. All
I think of that is
Del Boy.
What's his name?
No, Peckham there from, aren't they?
The Tooting Popular Front is a bit before your days. It's a character, this program on. I don't remember what it was called now. Wolfie Smith was his name. It was he used to come out the tube station and go. I think he used to Viva la Revolution or something or other. Right, old one. It's showing me age now. Someone will probably come up with what that was called in a minute. That also reminds me of that when I come out there.
So Alison's son Dean lives in Norwich on the Golden Mile. Where's the Golden? Do you know where the Golden Mile is?
I know where Mile Cross is. I don't know where Golden Mile is.
I know because I actually went to one of my best mates' stag do's in Norwich as well. That was the first time I went there.
There's a Golden Triangle, which is sort of around the centre where all the students live.
Yeah, is that where all like the bars are and the clubs and whatever?
Quite a lot.
Yes, Sniffy.
Yes.
Tooting Beck is brilliant. I'm not sure what you mean there, Fiona. Sorry. It's hard, these comments, isn't it? Because I love them so much. But by the time someone says something, it's trying to remember what we were talking about 2 or 3 minutes ago. Yeah. Alison says Tooting Beck is brilliant. Talking about great places in London. So, yeah. Hey, Terry's jumped on. Hi, Terry. How you doing, man?
Citizen Smith. I had to look it up. It was driving me mad. There was a program called Citizen Smith.
I remember the name of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he used to come out with a Fidel Castro thing on him as well. I can't remember what his name was, but he used to come out and up the revolution and all that stuff. But that was outside Tooting's subway station.
That's why Fiona said yes, Sniffy.
Yeah, that's it. That's right.
That's why. She was one step ahead of us, actually.
She was, yeah.
Sorry, Smithy. Upstead the revolution. Up the revolution.
1977 sitcom. God, I'm old.
There you go. Nothing to say about that over here. No. So, right, mate. It's been fantastic to have this conversation with you. Finally, there is the link again for your pre-order of Sport of Kings, which is I'm looking forward to reading. I need to get to Alive Until I Die before that, mind you. Although you say they don't need to be read in order, so perhaps
read in any order, mate. Just glad someone reads them.
I also want to mention quickly, that's the link to my book, Kathmandu, which is free on all platforms for...
I started it.
Good.
I'm a terrible reader. I told you that before, didn't I?
There is an audio book too. There is an audio book too.
I'll have to listen to that. I'll probably be quicker.
Read by me. Hello. For a very limited time, though, it is free. And I just want to get people... I quite like giving my books away for free. And I know this divides authors, doesn't it, Steve? I don't know what sort of side of the fence you sit on with it. But I think, actually... I think for a reader to pick up a book is a massive commitment. And it's a real thing to say, I'm going to spend 6-7 hours with you reading something that came out of your brain. And I'm going to pay money for that without ever hearing of you in the first place. I think that's a bit of an ask. So actually, to give away the first one and say, here you go. If I'd really like you to spend a few hours with me, if you're up for it.
I give away Snipe, the little free book. And if you sign up, you end up getting all the 3 novellas. So I give them away that way. Yeah. I used to give away Execution of Faith before I wrote the novellas, but I wrote them to give a nice... the people who sign up, they get a nice spectrum of 3 books. So they can get Snipe straight off. But the main books now I don't do free anymore. I just invested too much time and money into them. I need to get a return on them. But the novellas still go. They go quite well. Well, Snipe does, because it just keeps #1 in its little slot.
It's #1, isn't it? Yeah.
It goes up and down, but between sort of 1 and 5, it's most of the time it's at #1 of action and adventure short stories, 3 books. And that's been there for 18 months like that. I don't even advertise that anymore, which I can't believe that. It just keeps banging itself straight up to #1 again.
No, I agree with you.
Crazy little book.
And I won't do this forever. I'll do... I think what I'll probably do is do 2 free weeks every 6 months or something like that with the novel. And then with Kotal, which is my novella, you get that when you sign up. And that's your sort of introduction into the series to sort of move on. But I think the benefit of this as well is if by giving away Kathmandu, you read that, and then if you want to go back to read Kotal, that's fine, because they sort of link together in a roundabout sort of way,
Yeah.
And Fiona says Kathmandu is fantastic. Thank you, Fiona. I think it's great as well. I think it's probably my favourite book. Which one of your books is your favourite, do you think, Stephen?
Vulcan Jelly Deals has got a bit of a soft spot for that.
Yeah, that's
I
interesting.
Do like that one. I do like that one.
So what number was that in the order at which you wrote
Second one I wrote, but it's first one in timeline, so it's now actually first in the series. I like Beware the Chinaman as well. It's got a different vibe. It's a lot of twists and turns in Beware the Chinaman. It's a bit of an interesting take on green energy. It's all about power and green energy, and who holds green energy holds the power of the world, type of thing.
Nice.
It's quite a twisty, turny story. and a lot of things you don't expect to happen in it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Right. Steve Moore says, I think this is related to not the Green Mile, that's a film, the Golden Mile.
The Golden Triangle is on Bank Road, Elsham Road area, and there is the Mile Cross, which runs sort of around it.
Oh, so Steve Moore went to uni in that neck of the woods.
He did.
I didn't realise that. I knew it was somewhere around there, around that area. I didn't know it was actually there. Yeah, great pubs. Yeah, exactly. I know the area. Right. Yeah. Cool. That's been great, Stephen. It's been great to actually finally get to talk to you on this call, and it seems to have worked for an hour.
Yeah, we got some calls. We must have been live, not just talking to each other. So.
That's it. Which is, to be fair, I've enjoyed it, whether we've spoken to each other or whether we've been talking to other people as well.
This is true. Yeah, no, it's been good, mate. It's been good.
Let me put that thing on the screen again for your. There it is. The Sport of Kings. There we go. And just before we go, I want to have a quick, not necessarily to you, Stephen, but to everyone. I want to tell you all about my virtual house party on Saturday. Have you heard?
I'll go for it. I want to hear about this. Yeah.
Have I told you about it yet?
Yeah, you have kind of told me about it as well. I was looking at something else, seeing the picture of you with your decks, giving it
large. So a couple of weeks ago, and this is the reason why I got blocked on Facebook, is because I tried to stream a DJ set. Now, back before all of this business we're going through at the moment, I DJ'd in nightclubs, and I did them twice a week for about 15 years or something. It was great fun. And to start with, I didn't mind. To start with, I just got into writing, and it was fine. But after a few months, I really started to miss it. So 2 weeks ago, I was like, right, I'm going to do an online set and get all my friends involved. And then got kicked off Facebook as a result. I've learned from that. It's not going on Facebook.
Don't put it on Facebook.
So this time, if you want to be invited to this online set, you need to direct message me on Facebook or email me. My email address is there. I'll put it on the screen. Direct message me on Facebook or email me, and I'll send you the link, like a separate link that won't be Facebook related, that will tell you where to go, and you'll be able to listen to my live set. So it's sort of like you're invited to my house party. That's where I'm going for from this. It'll be from 7:00 on Saturday night. There'll be a few Zubas and maybe some Lex going on, and whatever you drink, Steve. Mate. Hopefully you'll be joining us for a beer or a cider or whatever.
Kind of strong though, and quite partial to that. Or if I'm hitting the hard stuff, Jack Daniels and Coke.
I haven't had Jack Daniels in a long time. That was great. So Allison says thank you. Hopefully she'll be joining us with a white wine. Or Alison's a big fan of real ale as well, I've learned. So yeah, Fiona should be there. Allison says can't wait for Saturday. Loved the last one you did. So there we go. If you want to be part of this house party and you're watching this before Saturday the 7th or 6th of February, you need to direct message me or you need to email me on that address there, because I'm not posting the link around because I got in trouble last time. So you need to, I'm only sending it to people who actually say I'm in, including Stephen Taylor, who'll be there in the comments having a nice time. Right, Steve, you stop where you are for a second. I'm just going to say goodbye to everyone. Thanks so much. I will see you next week. I haven't got a guest booked for next week because I didn't know whether it was going to work or not. But I may have someone, although it may just be me. I may just do one on my own because I haven't done one in a while and talk about what I've been up to. But please do remember 5:00 on Wednesday. I'd love to see you here, and we'll talk about some more books and drink some more beer. Cheers so much.